Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the 26th episode of Tales of Tamriel. We have a fun show planned for you this week. I know last week we had a monster show going over all the amazing news that came out of the Quakecon Future of ESO panel, which has sparked an awesome response from the community. I've actually heard several people who messaged me throughout the week that actually quit playing ESO and actually have decided to return because of all the things that were discussed during the panel. It is an exciting time to be part of the Elder Scrolls Online community. Well, this week, we're not so heavy on the news, and we do have a brief little discussion topic that I wanted to pose to my co-hosts to get their opinions on the subject. But overall, this should actually probably be a gameplay show, because I know I myself have had considerable time in the Elder Scrolls Online this week, and I have tons I want to talk about. Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Today, let me introduce you to all my co-hosts. As always, I am your humble host and future guard once the Justice patch drops, Aggelos. And with me this evening, we have the new listener of the Dark Brotherhood and Pink Sneak Thief herself, she who believes that Twitter is called Twits instead of tweets. Thais, how are you doing?
I'm doing really good. So just so everybody knows, after this episode, I will be setting up a Twitter account so I can get all those lovely twits. It's definitely what I want. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I cannot believe my wife said, I can't wait to get a Twitter account so I can get twits like the rest of you guys.
Well, it's called Twitter. Why wouldn't they be twits? Why would they be tweets? Doesn't make any sense.
I have no idea.
Well, I'm sure someone out there has to understand my predicament.
Okay, send all your twits to Thais. All right. Now, also returning this week, the man who generously is running our stream for us this afternoon, and he who, how did I say this? He who cannot choose a main for the life of him, Deltia of Deltia's Gaming.
Oh
how are you
God.
doing today, good sir?
You're so, unfortunately you're right. Yeah, I can't stick to one character. I don't know. Yeah, doing great. Streaming Dawnbreaker PvP. Trying to kill myself, but if you're watching the stream, it was hard. It's hard to even die as a DK, as funny as that sounds. Yeah.
Well, so I guess last week you were streaming as your sorcerer build, and now you are doing the Dragonknight, which was your first, correct?
I'm back. Yeah, I'm on the Butcher. I dedicated this build to my dad, who is a meat cutter. So yeah, I just cleave, standard, everyone dies and is mad. So yeah, I'm back on the Dragonknight, super powerful, but at the same point it's pretty derpy.
I see. I'm assuming you morphed your cleave into carve.
Oh yeah.
Butcher.
Yep.
Nice. Excellent. All right. Well, before we start the show, I actually wanted to give out a few shout-outs this week, and I actually think all of my co-hosts have shout-outs, and we'll do them right here. First off, I wanted to thank Deltia for his donation to the podcast, which, Deltia, thank you so much.
Yeah.
You definitely helped keep us running. I actually wanted to mention this last week, but it totally slipped my mind. But if you're interested, you should also check out his website, deltiasgaming.com. It's an awesome site full of OP guides about OP classes. No, seriously, it's an awesome site, and you should follow it. All right. Second off, I also wanted to thank a longtime friend of the show, Kipster, who generously donated a Steam copy of ESO to us last week, and we found it a home. So thank you so much for enabling us to get more people into this amazing game that we all love. Lastly, for me, I wanted to thank @Farrell from the guild for helping me out this week, getting my blacksmithing to 50. So thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that. Him and I were spamming daggers, and I was keep crafting and deconstructing them to get to 50. So I finally hit 50 in blacksmithing. And Thais, I know you said you had a shout out for somebody.
I do, but now I can't remember who it was.
Okay.
So wait a minute. Whoever, because I even though I'm level 1 veteran ranks, I've been running around with level 44 armor for forever.
Wasn't it Brandon something or another?
It was. All right, that's so. Thank you. Yes. So my shout out this time is for Brandon for crafting me an entire set of VR rank 1 armor. So now I cannot die nearly as often.
Nice.
So thank you. You've helped me out a lot.
Awesome. And Delty, I know you mentioned something about a shout out earlier. Do you want to do it here?
Basically at Bone Dagger, I was trying to craft this really particular set for this new build, having trouble, and I ran into him and he goes, "Are you podcast Deltia?" I go, "I've been on one, yeah, I think so." He goes, "Oh, I would have done that for free." And then he crafted me a sword, purple quality, for free, so that was really nice. And I sent him some money too, but it was nice. I guess someone knew me. That was kind of cool. So he checked out the site, and we've been friends and talking, so it's a small world.
See what happens? Being a guest host on Tales of Tamriel gets you free crap.
It's a big deal.
Just noted.
I'm a big deal on the internet, just so you know.
That's right. You should wear a top hat. Next time we do a stream, you got to wear a top hat.
Oh.
And be like, I'm a big deal on the internet.
Oh my
Right?
gosh, I would love that so much.
Nice. Okay. Well, now that we got our shout-outs out of the way, let's move right into the meat and potatoes of this show. Game news this week, we had a good bit of stuff. First off was the Loremaster Archive, another one of their community programs, and this time it's a Trader's Eye for Fashion. Ace, why don't you read that first section right there?
Okay. Madame Ferelana explains some secrets behind apparel and shares insider tips. You may know her as your well-traveled clothier hireling. Madame Ferelana has ridden the winds of trade from Auradon to Vardenfell, supplying you with quality materials and her interesting tales. Find out more by reading 2 works from her, one public and one quite personal, in today's article.
Okay, so again, another one of our lore functions. I love these things, but you know what? Anyone else actually read the emails that you get from these guys? Yeah? They are dirty. Like, they are really dirty.
I've heard people say that about them before, but I don't see how they're dirty. I don't get it.
There's lots of innuendo in these things. Delty, have you noticed the innuendo in these things?
Yeah, there is some funny ones, but I don't read them too often. I'm spam and go type thing. So, but they spend a lot of time writing. They have really good writing quality in all their stuff. It makes you feel immersed. Just that's all about that.
Mm-hmm. Even this is one thing I know we talked about early on in the podcast. Just talking about the Elder Scrolls in general, the amount of work and writing that they do for this game, when I kid you not, probably 90% of the players don't even pay attention to it. It's amazing. But it does. It gets you immersed because it makes you feel like the world really is alive, that someone's taking the time to write this stuff.
Yep.
So, even if you don't read the lore books, it's always nice to know they're there. Rather than having, other games, if you want to find out the lore of them, you kind of have to go to third-party sites that, might have had a developer interview about lore, or might be a little bit hidden. There might be a little blurb somewhere. This one is it's amazing the amount of lore. But, so if you're interested in reading from the Dream Journal of, was that Ferelana? And A Trader's Eye for Fashion, both of these books are now on the official Elder Scrolls Online page under the Loremaster's Archive, A Trader's Eye for Fashion. Again, we're not going to read these because we often read lore books on the show, and we don't want to double over this. All right. Next up on the news docket for this week is patch 1.2.6 patch notes were released. The overview of this, the Elder Scrolls Online version 1.2.6, is an incremental patch that addresses some additional issues with gameplay, quest, and more. This is one of our last patches before we release Update 3. And it looks like they have some fixes and improvements for some general Alliance War items, some combat and gameplay, specifically around Sorcerer and the Volatile Familiar, which they fixed the Volatile Familiar, which reduces the damage of this ability to 12% of maximum magicka from 20%. Oh, so that's actually a little bit of a buff. This is a temporary solution until we completely resolve the issue with the Familiar, where the Familiar is exploding twice. Huh. Well, that sounds like it kind of would be a little bit of a nerf. And of course
people are abusing.
What was that, Deltia?
People are abusing this in PvP. They you can't duel someone who has a familiar because it blows up, stuns them, and does way more damage than what the toolbar says. So it's it's broken right now.
Someone needs to look at their algorithms for damage.
Yep.
All right, and looks like one thing that's kind of interesting is they added, if you're above veteran rank 10, you can now use the Looking for Group tool to queue for all Tier 1 veteran dungeons, Spindle Clutch, Banished Cells, and Fungal Grotto. Yes, we did all those already, and they were fun, weren't they, Thais?
No, just no.
Just now? You know, the funny part is I think we avoided Spindle Clutch, and all the rest of them had spiders in them.
It wasn't fun. Fungal Grotto had lots of spiders.
Well, yeah, it was all about the Minfala spider cult, so of course. All right, and of course they did some other fixes for exploration and itemization, and several quest bugs have been fixed. If you are running into a quest that is bugged in either Alakir Desert, Betnikh, Craglorn, the main quest chain, Reaper's March, Shadowfen, Stonefalls, or Stormhaven, you should check out these patch notes on the official Elder Scrolls Online forums and see if it was your quest that has been fixed. All right. Next up, and this is one thing that's really kind of interesting, is PTS Patch Notes for 1.3.1, where they address some issues to combat, quest, veteran dungeons, and more. We have also seen your feed have made a number of changes based on the feedback, such adjustments to some of our item sets. So I guess they're fixing some different things before patch 1.3.1 comes out on live servers with update 3.
Hey, Spark.
Ooh, and first thing I gotta mention here is Dragonknight, Earthenheart, Magma Armor fixed an issue where this ability was doing 10 times the damage as intended. No wonder Dragon Knights are OP.
Oh, we need a buff. Need a buff.
We need a buff.
Sorcerers need a buff.
Yes.
I'm way too weak.
I don't want to hear any of that until they buff Templars and well, I won't even say Nightblades need a little bit of love, but right now Templars are like the worst class, period, unless you're a healer. Yeah, they are.
What?
Yeah, they are.
You wreck everything.
If you're a healer, then it's not. Believe me.
No, healer. We're far and away. We're too good as healers. But everything else, it's like, no, don't even bother. So that's the patch notes for 1.3.1. So if you're interested in checking them out, they are on the official Elder Scrolls Online forums. Check them out, or better yet, hop onto the PTS and do some testing. Before we move on to the next thing, here's a random question. I was listening to, I can't remember if it was another podcast or what it was, but they were talking about the PTS in general and how ZeniMax needs to spend a little bit more time in testing before they release these major patches. And one thing they actually mentioned was, here's the thing. You have to get players on to test, and if people aren't going on to the PTS, then you're not going to get the testing that you require until it's live. How do you guys feel about a type of, I guess, how would you encourage them to incentivize players to actually play on the PTS? Such as, hey, if you log into the PTS for 10 patches, for 10 new patches or iterations, we will offer you a mini pet kind of thing. Or something along those lines to get people actually to play on the PTS. Deltia, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm hearing me rambling here. The real hardcore players have always been on the PTS, and the casual or the mediocre fans maybe go check it out. It really is just an incentive to be, day one super powerful, but there's really nothing else. So I agree, there should be some incentive other than just, getting a glimpse of the new content, which is kind of what I use it for. So I don't know what that is. I think they need more mounts in the game. I mean, how cool would it be if you had a PTS mount? I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, and to get people into actually test stuff, say like you have to spend X number of hours, playing on PTS or something along those lines in order to, qualify for these rewards. I know Thais and I, because of our internet and stuff like that, to re-download the PTS would be days worth of time. And it makes it very hard for us to actually do that kind of stuff. But now, you know, again, if they were to incentivize and stuff of that nature, would we go on for it? Oh, absolutely, we would take the time and, you know, because for us, it's a struggle to get on the PTS in the first place. So why bother getting on the PTS and struggling through it for, you know, I mean, by the time we actually download and patch the darn thing, it'll probably be live already. What do you think?
If the reward was a mount, I would definitely go through downloading the server to try it out, because that is a huge incentive for me. I like collecting mounts. I like collecting the mini pets. Although I feel like their mini pet system needs to be tweaked a little bit. I don't very much enjoy the way it works right now. But if it was a mount, oh yeah, I'd be there.
Oh, I think it should be a tiered type system, like where they release more tiers. Like if you're on it for at least one patch, you get maybe a title, you know, World Builder or Realm Shape or something, you know, something like that to say, hey, I've been testing on the PTS. After you do 5 major update patch, make it a mini pet. After you do 10 major update patches, make it a mount. You know, make it so that it's incentive, not just one. If you make it a one-time incentive, that's kind of like the Hearthstone mount. You win 3 matches, you get a mount. So if you're only playing Hearthstone to get the mount in Warcraft, that takes you like 5 minutes. And then you're done. And you never go back. But I think they need to incentivize and make it a long-term goal of, hey, come out and test every time we have a new patch out, and you'll be eligible to get these rewards. So I just thought that was an interesting comment, and I thought we should talk about it. All right, next up on the game news is another one of the community programs, Battlemaster's Corner, the Dreadnought. Now this one I actually kind of liked a little bit. The guy made an Orc Templar, and it's heavily armored and emphasizes on survivability for himself and allies. The Dreadnought by itself has enough offense to cut through most encounters and quickly deal with bosses. In groups, the Dreadnoughts can provide massive healing from the dead center of battle while fighting effectively in PvE and PvP. Dreadnoughts are first and foremost healers. We preserve our allies and therefore do not focus as much on killing abilities. A mixture of heavy armor core complemented by some light armor keeps magicka high while providing ample physical and arcane protection. Now, this is a build that I plan on doing when I get into raiding in the game, because I like DPS. I really do. I've always been a DPS, but until they fix stamina builds, I'm not going to be able to do that, and I refuse to play the Elder Staves online for DPS. So I'm actually probably going to go the healer route, because I do play Templar, so I might as well play to the strengths that I have. And this is actually something that I really, really like, and I would actually play with this quite a bit. His primary skills, he's using a restoration staff with absorb magicka enchant, which is always a plus, and defending trait. Now he's using rush ceremony, which is the breath of life. That's the emergency heal. I think we were talking about that. I don't remember if it was you, Deltia, or if it was Kipster, but we were talking about pretty much Templars having the only on-demand heal, like the oh crap heal in the game, and that's that rush ceremony, which is just a direct damage, heals everyone around you kind of stuff. It does have a very high magicka cost, but I've used it several times in our dungeon where I hit it and just heal everybody. He also uses healing ritual and regeneration, mutagen buff from the healing staff, and for offensive abilities he does have silver bolts and cleansing ritual, and he uses the ultimate rite of passage. So this is a healing. So pretty much the only damage he actually has from this entire thing is either silver bolts or the actual restoration staff itself. His secondary set is a mace and shield. Again, he uses rush ceremony on the bar, restoring aura, puncture for ransack, so he can be a quasi tank, and focus charge and spear shards. And he uses the ultimate nova. So this definitely is something that would be a pretty powerful ability, or pretty powerful build for a healer, and I actually really want to try it out.
I would too.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of fun. Deltia, I know you don't really play Templar because it's not OP yet, but what do you think about these builds? Like, have you come across the heavy armored healing Templars in PvP?
Yes, but that's a terrible build for it. The best Templar in the game is one of my guildies, Varsha, and what he runs is what he calls his battery build. It's Luminous Shards and Necrotic Orb. He can charge up with all of his magic 5 Necrotic Orbs. That's 2,400 damage just by doing a synergy, and will literally one-shot anyone. Also, the entire group gets magic on demand and over time. He throws Luminous Shards repeatedly and healing spams, meaning the entire group has infinite stamina, magicka, and an AoE damage going all the time. That's a much better build.
You should talk your friend into posting it so it can go up on the community spotlight if he hasn't already.
Well, they don't post the really good builds. They just post little dinky ones. I mean, let's be real here. I mean, we've all...
Yeah.
I've emailed them about 13 different builds, and they haven't posted anything. Bastards.
Well, ZeniMax, if you're listening to our podcast, I've encouraged you guys to do this. You should definitely post builds from deltiasgaming.com. That would be deltiasgaming.com.
Now, the Necrotic Orb, everyone should get it. It's really, really hard to get because you have to get the achievements. But that and Luminous Shards, that's what makes the healer powerful. Because anyone can spam the one-button heal. But what makes the Templars amazing at healing is the group utility. It's just no one else has it nearly as good as the Templar. They are supreme healers. If Varsha's in my group and it's me and him and we're streaming right now, he's in the group. He's top 15 in the world PvP. He's just, he's amazing. He is amazing. So Templars, yeah, they're not the best DPS, but if you want to be a support class, you cannot go wrong with them. I mean it. So
sounds like what I need to do is have a sit-down chat with him when I want to go healing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Awesome. All right, well, if you're interested in checking out this other build, the Dreadnought, it is on the official Elder Scrolls Online page under their Battlemaster corner and under their community programs. Feel free to check it out, play with it, tweak it, maybe contact Deltia's friend and find out what his build is, and go from there. All right, next up, I really wish I had this, but I don't. Imperial City Lithograph. They're only doing 300 of these.
Ooh, must buy.
Well, we were talking about this the other day, how we
swag.
We like the physical swag better than the, like what Blizzard was doing with all their game stores, and like a lot of free-to-play games just do a lot of stuff in a cosmetic store. I still prefer the physical swag. Love it. And I know when we were playing Warcraft early on, we used to get the hoodies. We liked walking around with the hoodies because then when you're walking around, people see you go, "Oh, you play too?" I love the physical swag, and I'm still trying to talk myself into spending $180 on that leather satchel. The man purse. I want it.
I can't believe you just said swag like 6 times.
Oh, he's swagged out. What?
I would rock that man purse in a heartbeat. And then I'd take a picture and send it to Avarwin so he'd be jealous because I know he likes to rock the man purse, and he would be jealous of my Elder Scrolls Online leather man purse.
I know I would be too.
What about my Deltia's gaming shirts? You guys didn't want any of those.
Hey, I retweeted your tweet.
Did you really?
Yes, I did.
Oh, I didn't see it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's like, retweet if you're interested in a Deltia's gaming shirt. I'm like, oh, I totally rock that retweet.
Oh, no.
Go back and look. I'm
gonna have to.
Boy. But no, I see. I'm like, oh, well, I guess he just doesn't care about us. Anyway, if you are interested in getting this Siege of the Imperial City Lithograph, there are only 300 being made, and it is $40 on the Bethesda store. Now, these lithographs are really, really nice. We got, actually, I think this exact one, but it came with I think did it come with the Imperial Edition or did it come with the Hero's Guide? We got one of them, which is a smaller one, and it definitely is gorgeous looking. So I definitely do encourage you to get this. If you don't really want to spend the $40 for the lithograph, I wouldn't, but still want to get the posters to hang on your wall. I cannot stress enough getting the poster collection. We won that from Tamriel Foundry's giveaway a few weeks ago, and it is gorgeous. And for $20, it's hard to beat. You can get a lot of posters out of that thing. So if you like posters and you want them, definitely look into getting that. It is definitely worth the $20. And had I not won the darn thing, I probably would have bought it anyway. Okay. Anything to say about the Imperial Lithograph before we move on to the next section?
I think we need it.
I want to get those statues again. If you can see in my stream, I got all that collection, and I got some money now. I don't want to spend $300, but I'd really like if they made a more affordable version.
She just laughed that you died. Yeah, I love that. I love that case you have back there. I know we're working on redoing 2 rooms in our house. We're going to move upstairs and make kind of a gaming loft attached to our bedroom, and I actually want to get a nice glass display case, if you will, to display all of our Elder Scrolls Online stuff. So that way it's all sitting back there and all pretty, and we got lots of it. And speaking of Elder Scrolls Online stuff, during the Quakecon, they had 15% off on all their t-shirts and hoodies, so I got ourselves, I think I got you an Ebonheart Pact hoodie, and since I'm always hot, I got myself an Ebonheart Pact t-shirt, and 2 Gar plushies. I wore one for my office.
Yes.
I did. I'm putting it. She's gonna have one on her desk. I'm actually gonna take my Gar plushie to work and sit it on my desk because I work in IT and I have lots of little knickknacks and I want a Gar. Gar can sit up on my desk.
I'm so excited.
Yes.
I'm gonna name him Franklin.
Oh, Franklin. All right, moving on to the next section. I'm actually going to skip that one. We'll come back to that one later. Another one of their community programs, the Guild Spotlight, the Cloak and Dagger. Another guild focusing a little bit on kind of a thief organization. I didn't double check, but the first thing that their question was, what was your guild name and does it have a special history or significance? And they go through and they tried to be a little bit of a lore answer, and I did not double check to confirm, but right off the top of my head, I felt like their lore was wrong. And I really wanted to double check, but instead I didn't. But their guild name is the Cloak and Dagger, and I know they are probably going to be pretty heavy guild for thieving and all that fun stuff when the justice system comes out.
I would definitely consider joining, except they're part of the Daggerfall Covenant. That's the orcs, right?
Yes.
I don't like them anymore.
Interested, I do believe they are on the US side. They play Daggerfall Covenant. They are the Cloak and Dagger. So you can, if you're interested, you can either check out the page here, or you can whisper, I guess it's Natharin, Narathen, or go to their website, cloakanddagger.guildlaunch to apply.
It says Narathen.
Okay, whatever. I don't really care. They're a bunch of dirty thieves.
Better than
That's
dirty
right.
Nords. Oh wait, I'm a Nord.
You're Nords are awesome, good sir.
I agree.
Next up, they actually did a QuakeCon 2014 wrap-up. I'm not going to go into this too much because, well, we kind of beat it to death last week. But if you're interested and haven't got a chance either to listen to our last episode, episode 25, or have not had a chance to actually look at the video itself, there is a full video posted, the Future of ESO panel. It's 1 hour and 49 minutes. You can watch the entire thing from start to finish. You can also watch the PvP tournament where Mostly Harmless won first place with the runners-up Buff Agony and Tattoo Face. Yes. They are the runners-up for the PvP tournament. As well as you can actually watch the first place winners We Kill Bosses for the Trials competition, and second place for Defunct. They got second place on that. So yeah, really cool. And I actually know one of our good friend Kipster is part of that guild. So he was really excited about that. So that's really, really cool. They have some pictures here from look at the Gar plushie. It's just making its way around.
It's so cute.
If you followed, I think it was Gina Max's Twitter, she was posting twits all over the place showing where this little Guar plushie was as it was making its way around the Quakecon. It was really neat. And there we go. So, and there's also a whole listing of articles down here. If you would rather not watch a video, you can actually read whole load of them from like Dolphy, Kotaku, Massively, PC Magazine, Polygon, Elder Scrolls Off the Record. There's a whole list that you can read through. So if you haven't got a chance to listen to all of us talk about Quakecon, you can come to the official Elder Scrolls Online page and look at their Quakecon wrap-up. But I can tell you what, it's not near as elaborate as episode 25 of Tales of Tamriel, featuring Arcaneer of Arcaneer's Quest and Deltia of Deltia's Gaming. You should definitely check that out instead. All right, shameless plug over.
Can we have a complaint for articles here? Can I have a complaint?
Complaint articles?
IGN's article after QuakeCon, should ESO go free to play? I think they've lost touch with reality. They don't even know what this game's about. It's just, come on, dude. Quit banging on the game and hating it. I mean, as a journalism thing, I mean, you saw all the positives that are coming out of it. They want this game to fail so bad and go free to play so they can say, haha, I told you this game would suck. Stop. I'm done with IGN. Done with you.
It's been years since IGN actually has been relevant. So it's, to me, it seems like they write bad reviews because, as we talked earlier, negative always trumps positive in like views. They're just probably trying to get more views to their site so that their site doesn't crash and burn and go out of business, which it probably will soon because all real gamers realize that their site is not in touch, as you say, with reality at all, and they're grasping at straws here, trying to keep an image.
Yep.
A failed image at that.
Sorry for the rage.
No, I agree. And actually, there's several of them that it's like you're supposed to be a professional journalism site for gaming, and other than the, Facebook gamers, which I'll say that, no one even pays attention to you anymore because they realize you're full of poo, actually.
Literally.
Because they are.
Right.
They really are. And I love that. TS Fangirl says IGN is poop. Exactly what I said. Yes, they are poop, and I agree with this. That is the quote of the day.
That is great.
No, sorry. TS Fangirl, you get the second quote of the day because nothing beats, I want to make a Twitter account so I can get twits. All right, next bit of news.
They should be called twits.
Okay. Adventures Handbook issue number 6. Why don't you go ahead and just read all that?
Okay, looking to get more out of your adventures? You're in the right place. We have some new player-created guides to feature on a diverse set of topics, from the upcoming die system to role-playing and joining the battle in Cyrodiil. If you have a favorite guide or one you've created about anything in ESO, please share it with us at community@elderscrollsonline.com.
I'm trying.
By now, you hopefully know that a very detailed armor die system is coming to ESO in Update 3. The update recently came to our public test server, giving fans a look at it for the first time. The folks at ESO Fashion, always tuned into the latest in Tamriel apparel, swooped in and gathered up all the color swatches and their associated achievements on one helpful page. Start planning your new look now, and don't forget to check out their helpful tutorial on die application as well. If you've been wanting to get into the action in Cyrodiil but weren't sure exactly how to get started, Tiny Thinker has just the guide for you. Hop over to the official forums and check out his extensive introduction to Cyrodiil. It will take you from the basics right to the front lines of battle with some great advice. Warm up your war cry and fight for your alliance with confidence. Our last guide for today comes from the Human Floyd, who has put together a nice video series about role-playing in ESO and in online games in general. If you've always wondered what the RP fuss was about, his videos will introduce you to role-playing, from character creation to tips that will help you get the most fun out of your time in character. Check out the first video and watch the rest of the series for a crash course in online role-playing.
Excellent. So yeah, more guides coming out. And again, I can't help but notice, Deltia, that they haven't taken our hints and put your guides up there yet.
Right? Come on.
So, TES Online from the Twitter, you should look at Deltia's gaming.
I even twitted at him.
Twitted? You even twitted?
That's a Thais term.
Look, it's already catching on.
I twitted at him. All right, sorry.
I twitted them and they did not respond.
Bastards.
All right. Last bit of news for this week is the Creating ESO article, Identity and Update 3.
The importance of customizing your character can't be overstated. Watching a character come together is something we love too, and it goes far beyond just creating it in ESO. You keep making choices that shape your character's identity as you play. What skills will you use? What racial styles do you like the most? What choice you make when confronted with a dilemma in a quest? There are already many ways to develop your ESO character, but we know there's always room for more expression. Update 3 brings more customization to your look and your guild, and today we're diving into how we created these new features.
Oh no, I see a crash. Error 318.
I'm up. Someone made me some daggers, so I just spammed "I love you" in guild, and it just kicked me off. They thought I was a bot.
Nice.
They thought I was a bot or something. That's interesting.
Wow. I've actually never seen a 318.
Yeah,
Anyway.
Hero Lives says Deltia's passwords is twits1. That's true, actually.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm actually going to mass change all my passwords to that too. Indeed. Well,
That's amazing.
if you haven't been living under, if you have been living under a rock and don't know about Update 3 and all the stuff that's coming in, yes, die systems and everything like that. I adore these creating ESOs and getting behind the scenes kind of view as to what the developers were intending. And they go over the die system in here. They go over guild customization and traders. Which, by the way, we were talking the other week. I actually noticed there are 2 snake icons, Deltia.
Yeah.
There's the fist with the snake around it, and I think where was the other one? I was just looking at it.
Oh, that's a dread.
No, that's a wing shape, but there's a snake. There's like 2 or 3 different snake icons out there now. So, should have a lot of fun with that. So yeah, if you're interested in checking out this, I do encourage the read to see kind of where the developers are coming from. And I gotta tell you what, with how open these guys are, the whole company is, it's really fun to kind of get into their heads a little bit and see what they were thinking when they created these different things. It's really cool. And you can take kind of how their thought process and apply it to how they're probably going to create the newer content that's coming out. So I do encourage everyone to read through this. It is on the official Elder Scrolls Online page. I would read through it, but it would be a boring read. Or a boring listen, rather. I do recommend people actually looking at it.
I was already told that one of the pink dyes you get through fishing achievements. So if anybody has any spare fishing baits, at Tier Eater definitely needs it.
I was going to say, or you could just go pick up any flies or bug parts you need, but anyway.
Dude, who wants to harm, poor bugs? I don't want to do that.
Somebody has to.
Not me.
Okay. All right. Well, that is the end of our... There we go. End of our game news for this week. So what we want to go into now is we're going to go into the Elder Scrolls discussion. And this week, I was sitting there thinking to myself, what should we discuss for this week? And with the announcement of the Pledges system, which is the daily dungeon thing coming in one of the later patches for the Undaunted, I was thinking to myself, what is the role and what should be the role of daily quests within the Elder Scrolls Online? I know some people, when they hear daily quest, that's a dirty word for them. They hate daily quests. They, whatever the case may be. But what do my co-hosts feel about daily quest. We're going to go around the table here real quick and just give me a quick blurb right off the top of your head. How you feel daily quests are needed, not needed in an MMO, not specifically Elder Scrolls Online, just what your general feeling towards dailies and daily quests are. Thais, why don't you go ahead?
Well, I want to start off by saying the role of daily quests is to do the quest every day. Just to put that out there. Second, I actually enjoy daily quests. It gives you a goal to do every day. There's a lot of times I sign on and go, what do I want to do today? But when you have dailies, it's something that you know that you can complete every day. And there's usually rewards that go along with it, and most of the time, the rewards are nice. So, to me, in an MMO, I enjoy daily quests. I feel that they add, another layer of things you can accomplish and things that you can do to the game.
Okay. Deltia, what do you feel about dailies in games?
You used to hate them. Used to absolutely hate dailies. Now that ESO doesn't really have them, I realize how important they are. Because just like these, you log in, you're like, okay, what am I going to do? Well, 5 people aren't online to do this thing, or 12 aren't online to do trials. It gives you something to log in and do every day, work towards progressing. That's why we play these games, getting super badass cool gear and having fun. So I like it. I think if they did dailies, they're going to do it the right way with dungeons, it will be awesome. Because I love playing dungeons, and being able to get a key or whatever it is to unlock treasure and do fun stuff, it will really make the old dungeons play for a purpose. I mean, yes, we all like to play it and stuff like that, but we're gamers. I'm a meathead PvPer. I'm going to do what's best for my character long term, so I'm spending time doing that. And if it's doing dungeons over and over, and I can do it every day, it's really noticeable coming to this game where there's really no sense of dailies. I used to hate them, but now I realize how important they are.
Right.
Azteldian, I'm not sure that's how you pronounce it, Azteldian, pretty much said it perfectly. Everyone hates dailies, so they play a game with... That was a great way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to say that in 5 minutes, but they did it way better.
Are we the other one? Okay. He also said another good point. The key is to make them see you want to log in, but not actually have to in order to stay competitive.
Yeah.
We got a couple of good answers. Luna said, I generally don't enjoy dailies because I feel like I need to do them for the rewards or the experience, but they get so boring, and in some MMOs, they are not very immersive. Another answer to our question was, there's already so much to do in this game, but I guess dailies are a good way to continue to build your skills or experience.
Well, I'm gonna say this as well. I like dailies to an extent. I like the feeling of progression, whether it's a rep grind, but I don't mind that as much. I like knowing there's something to do for my character, no matter what. If I ever hit a point in the game where my character has progressed further than the developers that give me stuff to do, which we will talk about a little later. There was an email that I want to address. And this happened to us. We progressed further in every area that was available to us in the game, and developers were not keeping up with our demand, and we got bored. Now, dailies are also a good way of making a little bit of supplemental income, and everyone knows in this game, with the way the economy is, it is a much harder economy to make bank in, if you'll say, than in other games. I mean, even... one thing that kind of is annoying is that I've seen is all the gear is, or not all the gear, all the materials are pretty much selling for the exact same price. It's, like a stack of 100 iron sells for the same as a stack of 100 ebony at this point. Most time people are just trying to use it to break items down for materials.
Yep.
So the economy is really hard to actually get into here, and any sense of extra money you can get through dailies will definitely help, because in this game, it is fairly difficult to actually make and maintain, a good bit of money because of how the guild system works and how the selling system works. If you don't necessarily have time to log in and do dailies, let's just talk about this. How much time do you spend hawking your wares versus, doing dailies to earn money? Sitting in a town wanting to sell. That's how I've made most all of my money, is sitting in town and selling there. But that was a considerable amount of time versus doing daily quests. So I like dailies as long as, like you said, they don't feel like you need to do them for progression, for real progression, but they do have an element of progression that makes you want to do them and gives you an option. So with that being said, within the Elder Scrolls Online, how would you optimally want daily quests to be implemented? In what way? I personally see quest hubs where you go in and do dailies is not really the Elder Scrolls-ish way, but we'll go from there. Thais, what do you think?
Can we go to Deltia first, because I haven't formed an opinion yet.
Okay, Deltia.
Well, I got an opinion.
What type of dailies would you like to see?
I got an opinion, damn it. There has to be dungeon dailies. There has to be, basically, to make dailies work and make content a reason to do content, you need a reward. So to do a dungeon, get a skill point. What happens after that? Nothing, right? So that needs to be a daily. PvP, there needs to be dailies besides killing 15 Nightblades. It could be like capturing 5 quests, or I don't know. I think there could be a PvP daily like that, maybe a trial daily. Just doing stuff. And maybe even a crafting daily. I think someone in the chat room said something about that. I don't know what that would be, but just basically a reason to log in every day and do fun stuff. And really, dungeons need it. It's really needed for dungeons, because what's the point after getting, one piece of gear? I can go to Craglorn, and like I'm going to do soon, and get better gear than any dungeon, really. So why do them again after getting the skill point? We just run our guildies through them, so they get their skill point, blow through them, get the achievements, then we're done. So I would really like the dungeon one, so I haven't made that apparent yet.
Sure. I personally, I like the idea of, especially with justice system and stuff like that, dailies for hunting criminals, things of that nature. Maybe a daily for the Thieves Guild that you have to sneak in and steal a specific item. Because they've done this in Skyrim. When you actually finish the main quest line, you can actually get what they called Radiant quests, which were essentially dailies that you could go into, and they would offer you saying, hey, I need you to steal X item from this place, and you'd have to go in and do it. Same with the Dark Brotherhood. It wasn't named or real big story mobs, but it required you to go in and say, hey, I need you to go kill a blasphemous priest, if you will. You know what I mean? Something along those lines. Go kill this guy and come back for the reward. We'll give you a better reward based on if no one spots you, etc., etc., etc. I would like to see, for the solo players, stuff like that for each of the different guilds is how I would prefer to have it in. And it works with the Undaunted, because there you go. It's a daily from the Undaunted. Go and do a dungeon. Fighters Guild, go and close a dolmen, or go and kill X Daedra, or something along those lines. Mages Guild, I don't know. Go draw a picture. I don't know what the Mages Guild really does. I know. But things of that nature would be pretty cool. Like a crafting like a supply daily, where a crafter says, hey, I need you supply us weapons for the war effort in Cyrodiil. We need X number of these items with these specific traits, and then you get money equal to that, that expenditure, whatever the case may be, experience towards that expenditure, whatever, just to make it so that you go turn in these items to aid the war effort. I really think they need to elaborate more on the actual guild systems we have in here, and the NPC organizations currently within the game. Don't let them end when we finish their quest line. That's how I feel it should be implemented. Perhaps being able to buy, like they have special armors and stuff like that. I'm with you. I like the idea of different mounts as well, mini pets. trophies. I like those things. I know a lot of people complain trophies take up bank space, but maybe eventually they'll add them so trophies are like permanently bound to your character in a menu that you can just open up and play with. I would like that as well, but some trophies are fun to play with. I keep all of them because I think they're fun to collect. But little rewards like that you could buy from doing the dailies would be fun. It really would. So that's how I feel about dailies. Anyone else have anything else they would like to actually mention about daily quests before we move on?
Pretty much everything you just said, I completely agree. I really do. And dailies, for me, don't just give me a reason to sign on. Because if I sign on to do a daily, by the time I'm in the game and I finish my daily, I go, well, now that I'm on, I could do this. And then I can do this. And then I can do this. Like that. Dailies to me, I just really enjoy dailies.
Well,
they make you have to do so much more in the game, to participate in so many more things, to be able to get rewards. Because for me, in any game, it's really hard for me to make money. My main source of income in any game I play is usually dailies or questing or the money that drops from mobs. That's how I always make my money, because I am just horrible at selling items. Don't know why, I just really am. So dailies would be a great thing for a player like me.
Sure. Yeah, and like you said, I guess Luna, aka TS Fangirl, says she agrees with the idea of the NPC guild factions, because even in the single player games, they had these radiant quests that you could go do. You know, it wasn't part of the main storyline, so you didn't kill maybe named people or whatever the case may be, but it randomly generated things for you to do to earn money. You know, stealing, killing, Fighters Guild missions, stuff like that. That was definitely fun, and people love. Almost everyone who plays Elder Scrolls loves the idea of the guilds in this game. Let us keep doing it once we're finished with the story. The Grand Epic is great, but we're still members of those guilds. We didn't quit as soon as we were done with the storyline. In fact, most of the time you were promoted or something like that. We should be able to advance those guilds further. And yes, they've already announced one for the Undaunted. They are doing daily dungeons called Pledges. So I think they should expand on that and give us options of doing all sorts of different things. And in terms of progression, here's Deltia, are you an achievement hunter?
Yeah, I really like the achievement system in this game. Really do. So yes, it's fun.
Likewise. Now here's a perfect example. If they were to add, there's one achievement that I remember is hunting the rare monsters from the dolmens that can spawn anywhere.
Yeah.
If they had a hunter or a Fighters Guild daily said go close X amount of dolmens or whatever the case may be, that would help you advance towards those achievements by maybe getting lucky and getting a rare mob to spawn. And that advances your character. It advances your character. The hunting log kind of thing for killing X number of days. There's a lot of stuff that they can do that they can cater daily quests towards to make you get closer to those achievements. You know, go by doing the dailies, it's a way for you to actually move further towards the achievements.
Hi, Kilted.
Hey, Kilted Piper. Awesome. Person joining the chat room, which is awesome. We have a pretty active chat room today. I like this. I like it a lot. Okay. Well, anyone have anything else to say about the role of daily quest or what they would like to see before we move on?
I just want to see them in the game. That's my final point.
They do have. Well, here's the thing. They already do have some. In certain ways, like in Cyrodiil, they have a bounty quest for the Fighters Guild. That if you put a point in it, you can accept bounty quest in Cyrodiil. So they have the model already done. They just need to expand on it to make it fit more than just Cyrodiil. For the PvE player, PvP player, lots of stuff for people to do. Give people options, people will not get bored.
I also feel like they need to add a system where there's a bunch of people will probably disagree, but I'm also a fan of reputations. And there are so many different little groups and factions in this game that I feel like that's something else that could be seen in the future. But they would have to find a way to make it lore friendly.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll have to see what happens there. Okay, well, now we're going to move on to my favorite part, the Tales section. And as always, we like to let our guests go first. So, Deltia, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about what you're doing in the Elder Scrolls Online this week?
Oh, what I usually do, playing 15 different characters and not deciding on one of them. Yeah, I leveled a Sork, got to VR1 with the Sork. Basically trying to figure out... I like to know different classes. I like to know how they work, operate, because I think it makes me a better player, especially with PvP. I was seeing Sork do just outrageous DPS, and I'm like, I want to see what that's all about, and they look really fast and fun. So, been doing that, and got to VR1, and it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot, and playing the game a second time really is much faster. I knew exactly how to level, what was going to be effective, what wasn't. But ultimately I got back on my Dragonknight and did a couple other builds and really starting to prepare for 1.3. So the new gear systems are coming out. So I've been doing research, farming mats, just seeing how the game's going to evolve, get my look down, and just kind of putting around doing crafting. I want to raise up alchemy and provisioning because I'm tired of relying on other people to make my potions and food. So that's really what I'm doing.
Excellent. Yeah, I know I've been working on my professions as well, trying to get all my stuff maxed out. All right, well, now I also posed this question on Twitter, and I got a couple twits back about what people have been doing, and I want to say Kipster. Now, he messaged this to me last week, but we skipped it because, we were running out of time. But all right, he was saying, unfortunately, I was and still am gone all week. Now, this is last week. But an interesting bit of news. My guild Defunct took part in the Quakecon Trials competition and broke the current first place record on the NA server at 13 minutes. Since I was working, I was unable to participate, but I'm super proud to be in this guild. Good luck to Defunct on Saturday on the next round of competition. And we know that they actually pulled in second place overall, so that is awesome work, guys. Congratulations. Next up, our buddy Rode from TSOcast said the Naked Nord will be VR7 by the end of the day. I tried to get him on the podcast as well, but he records another podcast at the same time we record one, so that's a shame. Our buddy Kilted Piper, I got to show Thais how vampires feed. It is a very interesting animation.
It was grotesque. It made me want to become a vampire even more, but just watching the animation, I could not believe how gruesome it was. It was amazing. It was such a great animation.
Excellent. And he went through Fungal Grotto. I actually remember when he was doing this, he did it with some of the guildies, and he was practicing his Nightblade healing. That went better as the dungeon progressed. He also wanted me to make mention for the people who are in the Wings of Fate Friends and Family Guild that we do have a Ventrilo server, and if you're doing dungeons or something like that, feel free to use it. The information is in the guild notes. I know when I'm playing ESO, I generally am not in any voice comms because I'm immersed in the game, but when we do dungeons, I like to hop in it. It is free for use for anyone who's in there. Feel free to hop in and enjoy it.
Pretty much the only reason that Ag uses the voice program, though, is because he likes to have everyone hear me scream at the spider dungeons. So, yeah, it's not so much to communicate, just to laugh at me.
It was a lot of fun, and I do encourage, next time we do a dungeon, we'll probably be in there, we'll probably have 20 people in the Ventrilo just listening to you freak out. It's awesome. Excellent. Okay, and our friend Aloha, that's Aloha Wendy on Twitter. She sends us twits too.
Yes.
I've done several runs through City of Ash, the Arc, or I don't even know what that word is. It's a Corridum. Thank you. That dungeon and Crypt of Hearts, as well as some questing in Ravenspire. Now, she also sent a picture because she's like, what in creation is this? And she found one of those elusive Elder Scrolls Online brothels. Because if I'm looking at this picture right here, and if you follow us on Twitter, you'll be able to look at it as well, where there's a guy sitting by a fire eating a loaf of bread without a shirt on. And there is a naked female in the bed, well, as naked as you can get within Elder Scrolls Online, laying on the bed. And she's sitting there in the room going, what is happening here? I told her she found one of those elusive brothels. Albeit the one I always frequent is one filled with dark elves. And don't look at me that way, it's true. So yes, that's awesome. Alright, and finally, as I said I was going to read TS's Fangirl's tweets, but I'm going to have to edit this a little bit. I had someone call me out in Stonefalls zone chat Friday night for wanting a Silt Strider mount in Elder Scrolls Online. They accused me of needing to compensate for my small size of my, we'll just say manhood, with the Silt Strider. Sad face. Well, they're right. I don't have a small manhood. I don't have one at all. So I have a lot to compensate for. Okay, but really, my alt spent a day catching up with the Bleakrock Fort survivors in Ebonheart and Craglorn. It makes me sad I lost track of the Bleakrock Docks survivors on my main character playthrough, though. Oh, that is sad. And what else? I jumped into this abandoned villa in the far eastern corner of Deshawn. It was pretty cool. So that's awesome. No, I told you, TS Fangirl, I was going to read it. I just edited it down for a family show. All right, so now we're going to get into our tales a little bit. Now, first off, Thais, tell us a little bit about your character. Has anything changed? And let's go from there.
I haven't really changed much yet, but I've been considering changing things. I know I'm going to say this and everyone's going to go, why did you do that? But I put way too many points into my Magicka stats. So now I need to completely redo my stats, dump most of them into HP since I hear that's, the way to go. I also have a few points in stamina. That was from the beginning. I didn't really know what I was doing. So I need to go about changing that. Other than that, my skills are still pretty much the same. I've been trying to morph a few new ones, but as we're getting up in levels, I'm finding it harder and harder to get skill points. So I haven't done anything yet. Still haven't been leveling my daggers because I keep forgetting to do that. I am almost maxed on my destruction staff. I'm that close, just so close. And now that I have my new armor, I haven't been dying nearly as much, thanks to Brandon in the guild for making me my armor, so I'm very happy about that. So yeah, that's my character right now.
Nice. I'm pretty much in the same boat I always was, because leveling these things is really rough. I'm very close to getting 50 in light armor, and then I've created all this gear, heavy armor, medium armor mix, because I still am playing, for my solo build, I am playing a stamina build, because I'm going to have multiple builds. I will have one that is specifically for solo play, which will be a stamina build, because that's what I enjoy playing, and then I'll probably do a healing build later on for actual raiding and things of that nature. But with that being said, I'm still using the bow, but I have made some progress with it. It is almost done, and then I'll be leveling up the resto and destruction things. So that's where we're currently at. Now let's talk a little bit about what we've been doing this week. We've actually got a lot of playtime in this week. We were finishing off the Isle of Betnikh when we last left off. We were, what is that, Missouri or something like that, was a Ayleid ruin where we had to go in and free the orc spirits with Namiro, is that his name? The high elf? No? Okay. Well, Naramo, thank you. Anyway, so we were running around doing that a little bit, and we finally were able to advance through that quest and go up and finish off Betnikh Isle as well with the assault on Tarord's Demise, I guess is the name of the place. And we were faced with a pretty interesting situation. We found an alien artifact. Ace, you want to talk a little bit about the alien artifact and what we chose to do with it?
It was a pretty hard decision because both choices were a big fat no to us, since we're playing in the orc zone, and I don't really like the orcs. After being in this little area, they make me kind of feel icky on the inside, and I don't like that. So we have this artifact, and we're stuck with two choices. On the one hand, they want to keep this artifact and give it to the leaders of the Covenant, saying that, oh yeah, it'll help us, it'll be great, you know? Now the reason we didn't like that is because even though we're kind of playing with the orcs, we are still Ebonheart Pact, and I don't like the idea of giving this over to the Covenant because it could be used against our beloved Pact members, and I don't like that.
And also with how the Bretons generally are, it could just be used for genocide and just period. Just doesn't matter.
That is true. And then on the other side, they're saying that they need to just completely destroy it. Just destroy the whole thing. And I didn't like that either because that would mean that we're siding with the orcs. And I don't want to side with the orcs. I don't like them. I feel like the orcs should be punished for being horrible beasts. So it was just, it's like, what is the lesser of two evils here? And we finally did decide that we were going to destroy it because Ag made a wonderful point that this relic was filled by the souls of people, and that there's thousands and thousands of stolen souls in this thing, and I didn't like that idea, and neither did Ag, so we decided to destroy it. And that was exactly, someone in chat just said it. Colleen was furious. Oh, but at the same time, because we destroyed it, Jakarn he really enjoyed that, and that made me really happy because Jakarn's kind of sexy. I have a thing for Jakarn.
Yeah. I always play a holy warrior character, not just because of, I prefer that play style, but also I like playing that hero role, the knight in shining armor, so I couldn't deal with that anyway. The only I always go with the good response when I answer and do everything, with the exception of one, which the end of the Mage's Guild, which I won't spoil it. And I couldn't give up the 2 skill points. That was the sad part. That was my major defining point.
There actually is one Nord on Colleen's ship that wants him, and I thought that was pretty amazing. Go ahead.
Yes, there is. We talked about that last week, the one guy, and if you talk to him later after you're done, because of course we went on the ship, and everyone's like, we swore we'd never sail with you again, but we're gonna do what the orc wants, so get on here and then get off my ship. But it's funny because if you go talk to this one big beefy Nord, he's hilarious because he goes, these ladies are so crazy. They don't even know that me and Jakarn already made plans to run off together and adventure. It's that Nord, I tell you what. So that's what we were working now. We've been actually playing a lot within Daggerfall, and I love Glenumbra. It is one of my favorite zones outside of Skyrim proper. And it is. I love the heavy, I guess, Gothic architecture, if you will, that high fantasy medieval looking city. I just love it. I really, really do. I love the entire city, but there's a lot of things going on within Daggerfall City that are just kind of a little bit shady. And I know we actually had to deal with a bunch of murders that were happening within the city.
One of them, I actually had to start hollering for Ag to help me because I decided to go a little bit further in the quest because he was, doing something on his own. So I was going around and sneaking in the back alleys trying to figure out how these people were dying. And I finally go to one person and it's told to us, oh no, the person that's killing these people are werewolves, and there's just teeth, and they're big and gruesome and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting. So then they go tell me, why don't you go, explore down by the little river over there? I'm like, okay, I can go handle that. Why not? So I go down to the river, and right underneath, what is it? The bridge. I couldn't think of the word bridge. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, this gigantic werewolf just starts going after me, trying to rip my face off. And we are in VR rank, and I am a very squishy sorcerer. So I'm trying to kite him around, and I'm screaming from my desk, and Ag's only a few feet away, and I'm screaming at him, help, I need you to come save me. I'm trying not to die, trying to kill him on my own. Finally, when Ag makes it over there, I manage to kill the werewolf on my own, and I say to him, oh, you were a lot of help. Thanks.
Hey.
Glad to know that if I need some help and I'm screaming, you're right there to save me.
I got the final kill on it because I got credit for it. So I put the arrow through its head. You just did 99% of the work.
Uh-huh. I'll remember that next time you need help.
That's okay. Now, another thing we did that. We were going through the quest, but a lot of the fun we had this week, I think, was just the adventuring within Glenumbra itself. We spent a lot of time with, where were we at? Badman's Hollow. We were doing a lot of the delves and the public dungeons within there. We did one of the Celium delve. That one was all right. It wasn't too bad. I actually figured out all this time, guys, this is pretty sad for a guy who does the podcast, but all this time, I had no idea what the one torch meant, what the one torch with the plus sign meant, and I knew what the two torches meant. That was an actual group dungeon. But every time they referred to delves, I was never really sure exactly what they were. I knew they were kind of like tiny little instanced areas, but I always thought the single torches were public dungeons. I didn't know there was a difference between the two. But that being said, we actually went in and a lot of time within Badman's Hollow because we decided we're going to go for all the achievements within the area. Such as, we got both the skill points, but we also wanted to go for the Conquer achievement, killing all the rares that are in there, the rare elites. And we were looking forever for Bloatgut, the last one we needed, and we finally found him, and he was dead. So we're like, you know what? We finally found him in this dungeon. We've been searching here for probably, how long was it?
A good 45 minutes we were in there. Well, but before we stood there and waited.
No, we were there for quite a while. Yeah, because I know that night that was last night actually, Kilted Piper will say he was surprised to see me still up because I don't think we went to bed till 3 in the morning, and normally I'm in bed by 10.
9.
Yeah.
8.
Something like that. I'm an old man. But I'm up at 6 in the morning every day, even weekends. That's beside the point. But we were in there for a long time. We were probably in there for 2 hours, I would say, just sitting in there waiting for this guy to spawn. Because we're like, well, how long does it really take for him to spawn? It took a long time. But we actually did manage to get the Badman's Hollow Conqueror achievement, which was really, really awesome. And I think that was probably some of the most fun we've had this week within the Elder Scrolls Online. Just doing that. It wasn't even really doing the quest. It was just playing around in the one area. Yeah, and TS Fangirl says the carnival grounds of the pre-dungeon Badman's Hollow was so pretty. Yeah, the festival grounds, it really was. And then what happens when you find out what's really going on, it's pretty awesome. Now, another thing that we had been working on is we started going north, and we had an interesting encounter. I thought you want to tell the story about this, running into the mercenary group, the Daggers.
That was so good. At first, I have to mention that the leader of the Daggers was quite a very attractive Breton. He was a Breton, right?
Yeah, he was a Breton. But... Oh, and TS Fangirl says, aren't the elite mobs on a 15-minute timer? No. I thought so too, because some of the other ones spawn pretty quickly. Like, we killed one of them, Blood Gorge or something like that, like 3 or 4 times. But this guy, I don't know if it was bugged or what, but he took forever. We only saw him 2 times in the dungeon. We were in there for quite a while. It was after we saw someone kill, or saw the dead body. We were in there for a very long time waiting for him to respawn. And Asildan, I think this is how you pronounce his name. No, they are linked. Aside from after server resets, you only have a couple up at once, so you often have to run around wiping them out. You know, not knowing that, we were sitting there for a very long time waiting for him to spawn. The other ones were probably up, and by the time, 2:30 in the morning Eastern time, there wasn't a lot of people within that dungeon. The other ones were probably up, and that one just didn't spawn. That's good to know for next time.
I do have a comment to what, I'm going to say it incorrectly again, Azteldian. He said, Daggerfall rocks, AD sucks, damn hippies and elitist elves. Unfortunately, I have to disagree with that comment. The Wood Elves are not hippies. The Wood Elves are disgusting abominations of nature. The hippies of Elder Scrolls are actually the Argonians, and I love the Argonians. That's why I had to make a comment about it. Oh, Argonians, so amazing. Back to the quest. So this quest, we had to help this group called the Daggers. They were originally people that were down on their luck. They didn't want to be murderers, they didn't want to be thieves, so they decided that they would band together this small group of people and they would become a mercenary group. And what they would do is, they would be a mercenary group that had good morals. They would take jobs where they didn't have to defile themselves with murdering and stealing. So they took this job. And they didn't know at the beginning that it was going to be a job where their morals really would have to be tested. They had to go around and they had to investigate why harpies were all of a sudden turning on everybody. Now, I happen to like harpies. I think they're kind of adorable. I don't know why, but they just are. And so we have to go, we have to pick up some eggs and trap some harpies, take them back to this guy, and something just doesn't seem right. And as we're walking back to the camp, this big orc fellow says to us, listen, no matter what the choice is here, we need to make the choice that means that the daggers can stay together. And right in my head, this starts, sending off some signals that, okay, something's probably not right here. This does not sound good. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So we go back to the guy, and we talk to him, and he's yelling at us because one of the missing daggers guys did not come back. And that means that they are missing an egg. And that really, really upset him. So what we had to do is, the missing guy's sister was telling us, well, I think I might know where he is.
Right, and actually, I wanted to comment on this. TS Fangirl says, and all I can say is I love how they commented on how hot some of the NPCs are. The only thing when she looked at this NPC, he's got long blonde hair. The thing that immediately went into my mind is if anyone watches Game of Thrones, he looked like the first Daario character. Naharis, yeah, Daario Naharis in Game of Thrones with the long blonde hair. That's what he looked like. That's the first thing that jumped into my mind. Then she's like, oh, it really does. And then she was in love with him.
Not more than Jakarn, though. He definitely holds my heart.
Now, of course, we had to go and we rescued or found where the guy was hiding, and we found out that the nobles were kind of up to some nefarious purposes, which is, I think someone was saying how great AD was, or how when they were doing the quest, how come Daggerfall is never invaded? There's never any invasion quests. When you're playing AD, there's invasion ones. When you're playing Ebonheart Pact, that's all they're ever doing is being invaded. And I'm like, it's because the other two factions don't really need to bother with Daggerfall because there's so much Game of Thrones style backstabbing in Daggerfall Covenant, they'll kill themselves off eventually. That's how I still believe. So yeah, we actually found out the noble, and we did the good thing, which was killing him.
Well, we did not think that he was actually going to die. We thought that someone would say something to him and we'd call the guards. But as we're watching, it was really neat how they did it. As we were watching the cutscene, talking to the guy, and you know how it kind of pans into his face. Well, as we're talking to this guy, trying to distract him, the main guy that had been missing... Oh, I can never be embarrassed. I will say, loud and proud, there are a lot of NPCs who are just so hot. And so does Ag, even though he won't admit it on the show, but I will.
I'm still in love with the one sergeant from Bleakrock, the dark elf. who we didn't save.
And the Morag Tong girl.
Oh, yeah, the Morag Tong girl.
That dark elf.
Yes.
Definitely. Oh, but as we're trying to distract this guy, the man that had been missing was sneaking around in the background, taking out the guards, releasing the harpy, and the guy we're talking to has no idea. It was probably one of the coolest quests I've done. I really enjoyed that quest.
Nice. Well, and I think that's where we kind of ended our adventures for this week. Now, that was our duo adventures, but since Thais was off on her Dark Brotherhood assignment last week, I did get a lot of playtime in solo with some of my alt characters, and I want to talk a little bit about them. The first one that I've actually been playing pretty heavily was a Nightblade. I have she's a bank alt, that's all she really is. But since we have 4 characters that we decided we're going to play together with, we each have counterparts. We have 4 extra slots that are whatever we want to do with them slots, which for me, they're all bank characters. But I decided I felt like leveling up one of my bank characters. All she does is really holds, or not enchanting mats, but alchemy mats. So I was playing her a little bit, and I gotta say, I've been having a lot of fun with the Nightblade. Like, a lot of fun. Now, I'm going something I normally don't do. She's going the straight sneak thief, very much into stealth, bow, and dual-wield daggers. And she's pretty beastly. Like, as much as the bow really kind of sucks, the one good ability is that Venom Arrow. That Venom Arrow is, like, OP. Because it like a ranged interrupt, it does a lot of damage. It's just a lot of fun to play with. All the rest of the abilities I think are pretty worthless. But I've been playing with that, and I'm really liking the Consuming Shadows, as well as the I got some tips on different things, and since I'm playing kind of range, they're like, well, make sure you morph your Assassin's Blade. I forget what the morph is called, but it makes it a ranged attack. So you're able to attack from a distance with the Assassin's Blade, as well as I morph the health drain to actually do even more health. So my girl just like never dies. She's always health draining everybody. It is crazy how much health drain she actually has. Now I actually got her to level 10 surprisingly, and I made it all the way through Bleakfalls, all the way through Bal Foyen, and I made it about one-third of the way through Stonefalls on her before I stopped playing her. It's really, really cool. And I'm gonna why don't you read TS Fangirl's comment there?
One of the things she said prior was that you say everything I'm too embarrassed to comment on. Thank you, about how some of the NPCs are hot. So then she goes, one of the great things about the ESO character creator is that the male NPCs and player characters you can make are actually hot, actually attractive. All my characters in beta were male for that reason. I have one of the greatest comments about that, and once I start saying it, I know you'll know what it is, Ag. There is one Argonian in one of the houses that is the hottest Argonian I've ever seen. He's down in a basement somewhere, and he is this beefy, buff.
It's in Deshawn. It's not Warnhold, but it's that first town you go into.
Yeah. He's this beefy, buff, tall Argonian, and he is just gorgeous. I would definitely divorce Ag's character. Unmarry? Who says that? Divorce Ag's character just to be with this Argonian.
Yeah, that's how it is. So that was what we did there. Now, also, another little bit of fun that I had this week is there's a hot Argonian Thais. Man, we're getting so many good good little taglines that we should be saving.
I wish there was a hot Argonian in my basement.
Anyway, continuing on, I actually got my one buddy to come over because he was kind of interested in playing ESO, but he didn't really play the beta. Like, he just didn't sign up for it. It wasn't something that he was interested in. But with us doing a podcast on it, we've been talking about it so much, he's really kind of got in his head he wants to try it, but he doesn't want to get it before he tried it. So he came over on Friday night, and Thais let him create a character on her account, and I created a brand new Dragonknight on mine, and we were playing together for probably 3 or 4 hours. And by the end of it, we'll just say he now wants to get ESO, and thanks to Kipster, which is what we mentioned earlier, that he donated a copy of ESO to us, that we found a home for my buddy, and he's now going to download and play with us, which is really, really exciting. And we again thank Kipster for that. We found a good home for his donation. Now, the funniest thing was what really I think got him was we were fighting around. He was playing a Dragonknight with a 2-handed weapon, and the first time that he parried somebody and they got stunned and he did a power attack and knocked them over, he got all giddy. He's like, okay, that was really cool. Watching how the power attack knocked them over. So that was my week in game. We've had a lot of fun this week. I mean, outside of the week we took off to actually play ESO, I've had a lot of playtime this week. It's been a lot of fun. So, but I think that's going to end our tales for this week. The one thing I do want to ask, Deltia, where are you running around at? I've been watching the stream while talking.
Craglorn right now.
Oh, Craglorn.
Yeah.
I've been dying a lot.
Well, I'm in my PvP gear, and I just killed my buddy. But, yeah, if I had my tank gear on my Hispark, you wouldn't kill me.
Nice. All right, well, this is going to be the end of our Tales section for this week, and we're going to move on to our next section, which is the dramatic reading. We're going to pick up where we left off 2 weeks ago, and that is, we're going to continue picking up reading the Divines and Deities set. And this week, the book we'll be reading is The Monomyth, Lorcan and Sadakal. Thais, you're up.
Lorcan. This creator, trickster, tester deity is in every Tamrielic mythic tradition. His most popular name is the Aldmeri Lorcan, or Doomdrum. He convinced or contrived the original spirits to bring about the creation of the mortal plane, upsetting the status quo, much like his father Padme had introduced instability into the universe in the beginning place. After the world is materialized, Lorcan is separated from his divine center, sometimes involuntarily, and wanders the creation of the Et Ada. Interpretations of these events differ widely by culture. Below is one of the better known. Yukadan, Satakal the Worldskin. Satak was first serpent, the snake who came before, and all the worlds who come rested in the glimmer of its scales. It was so big there was nothing but, and thus it was coiled around and around itself, and the worlds to come slid across each other, but none had room to breathe or even be. And so the worlds called to something to save them, to let them out. But of course there was nothing outside the first serpent, so aid had to come from inside it. And this was Akel, the hungry stomach. Akel made itself known, and Satak could only think about what it was. And it was the best hunger, so it ate and ate. Soon there was enough room to live in the worlds, and things began. These things were new, and they often made mistakes, for there was hardly time to practice being things before. So most things ended quickly, or were not good, or gave up on themselves. Some things were about to start, but they were eaten up as Satak got to that part of its body. This was a violent time. Pretty soon, Akel caused Satak to bite its own heart, and that was the end. The hunger, though, refused to stop, even in death. And so the first serpent shed its skin to begin anew. As the old world died, Satakal began. And when things realized this pattern, so did they realize what their part in it was. They began to take names, like Ruptka or Tuwaka, and they strode about looking for their kin. As Satakal ate itself over and over, the strongest spirits learned to bypass the cycle by moving at strange angles. They called this process the walkabout, a way of striding between the world skins. Ruptka was so big that he was able to place the stars in the sky so that weaker spirits might find their way easier. This practice became so easy for the spirits that it became a place, called the Far Shores, a time of waiting until the next skin. Ruptka was able to sire many children through the cycles, and so he became known as the Tall Papa. He continued to place stars to map out the void for others. But after so many cycles, there were almost too many spirits to help out. He made himself a helper from the Deitress of Past Skins, and this was Sep, or the second serpent. Sep had much of the hungry stomach still left in him, multiple hungers from multiple skins. He was so hungry he could not think straight. Sometimes he would just eat the spirits he was supposed to help, but Tall Papa would always reach in and take them back out. Finally, tired of helping Tall Papa, Sep went and gathered the rest of the old skins and balled them up, tricking spirits to help him, promising them this was how you reach the new world, by making one out of the old. These spirits loved this way of living, as it was easier. No more jumping from place to place. Many spirits joined in, believing this was good thinking. Tall Papa just shook his head. Pretty soon, the spirits on the skin balls started to die, because they were very far from the real world of Satakal, and they found that it was too far to jump into the far shores now. The spirits that were left pleaded with Tall Papa to take them back, but Grim Buktka would not, and he told the spirits that they must learn new ways to follow the stars to the far shores now. If they could not, then they must live on through their children, which was not the same as before. Sep, however, needed more punishment, and so Tall Papa squashed the snake with a big stick. The hunger fell out of Sep's dead mouth and was the only thing left of the second serpent. While the rest of the new world was allowed to strive back to godhood, Sep could only sink around in a dead skin, or swim about in the sky, a hungry void that jealously tried to eat the stars.
I love all the creation stories and how, given the fact that I play Nord, I love the idea of Lorcan and his many names and reincarnations. Like, other than Akatosh himself, Lorcan is the only other deity to appear in every other religion in Tamriel. He's the only one. Akatosh and, well, I guess I shouldn't say that because there's also generally an Anu and Padme version, which Anu, Padme, Akatosh, and Lorcan are the only deities or of higher beings that actually show up in every religion. All the other ones maybe have some, don't have some, but it's definitely really, really cool. Okay. Moving on to the next thing, I want to do our community spotlight. I have one here, but I'm actually going to make mention of this. I don't like to generally mention the Tales of Tamriel website during our community spotlight, but this is actually something different. We are using the Tales of Tamriel.com as the hosting for, he's actually in chat right now, Steelden. He's been writing a bunch of different guides that he's been writing for his guildies and things of that nature over the months while he's been playing ESO, and he has generously allowed us to post them on the talesoftamriel.com. Now, with that being said, at least for the next month, we have articles coming out every Thursday from him, so definitely come out, check them out, and he did a whole bunch of ones on the different morphs and weapon skills for, I think, bow is out now, and dual wield, and two-handed weaponry and sword and shield are coming out in the next few weeks, as well as 2 articles on add-ons and an article for general tips for ESO. So definitely keep your eye out on talesoftamriel.com for all of his guides that will be coming out over the next couple weeks. And we definitely thank you so much for allowing us to post them on our site. That is really awesome of you. And of course, he is part of a guild that is on the Daggerfall Covenant EU server, and I wanted to shout him out. It's Crucio Sanctorium, and they're a casual guild open to all aspects of the game. And if anyone is interested in their guild, definitely give them a shout. You can either contact him himself at Steeldian, which is ASTELDIAN, or you can contact his wife, which is at EMYLITA, to find out if you're interested in joining their guild on the EU mega server. So again, thank you so much for allowing us to publish your guides and articles on our site, and we look forward to seeing more to come. All right, moving on to the next section, which is our emails and iTunes shoutouts.
Okay, so let's see. iTunes, great job, 5 stars from Jones W. One of my favorite podcasts I listen to each week to keep up to date on what's going on. The banter between the hosts is refreshing, and it's always easy to hear what's being said. Keep up the great work, and may you never get bitten by a vampire or thrown in a spider's nest. Well, thank you. I would appreciate not being thrown into spider's nests. The next one is a very well done podcast, 5 stars by MG Laird. I was looking for more Elder Scrolls podcasts when I came upon this one. I heard one episode and then proceeded to listen to the 20 other episodes I missed. Before it's simply because they are very well done. The hosts have a great charisma together, thoughtful opinions, and lots of fun with the podcast. They do a very great job of giving... Woo! You just moved it? Okay. Very great job of giving pertinent information and also do a dramatic reading of a lore book every episode. I don't generally care tons about lore, but they have started to make me want to learn more. They may be considered a fairly fledgling in the world of podcasts, but they do what they do well and continue to improve whatever they can with every episode. Thank you.
All right. Now, this is an email I actually wanted to go over because Deltia, I think you'll be able to weigh in here as well because this is... he poses some questions to us. So, Thais, why don't you go ahead and read this, and then we'll discuss it.
Okay. Hey guys, love the show. I always look forward to seeing the little 1 icon next to your podcast on my phone. Your podcast gives me something to look forward to on my drive home and helps me deal with the stupid Sydney traffic. So, a few weeks ago I hit VR6 on one of my characters, which is a Daggerfall Dragonknight orc that I love. He's a tank and does the job pretty well. I have 3 characters in all, 2 which are vet ranked or a Contemplar, and 1 that has never progressed past level 22. Now, I love ESO. I love it so much, which is the reason why I'm writing to you guys to voice my concern about the game. Recently, I've had a friend talk me into joining the Guild Wars 2 franchise. He never got into ESO because he's been playing Guild Wars 2 since Guild Wars 1, and has been bugging me to join what he calls a real MMO. I hesitated because my heart has always been ESO's. I've been interested in the game since way back when Bethesda first announced they were working on an MMO. The other issue I have with games like WoW and Guild Wars 2 is that they looked a bit too cartoony for my taste. I really enjoy the realistic environments in Elder Scrolls Online. So what's the problem? Well, to put it bluntly, I'm bored, plain and simple. I find myself wandering Craglorn looking for groups to join. I seem to only find grinding groups that do the same 4 boss battles over and over and over again. Boring! So, I did the unthinkable, and bought Guild Wars 2 to fill in the time between ESO's DLCs and or major updates, like the Update 3 that's coming. Guild Wars has reminded me all that is missing from ESO as a true MMOer. Yes, the graphics are not that of ESO, not even close, but the gameplay and the depth of what the game has to offer seems to offer much more than ESO right now. I understand Elder Scrolls Online is in its infancy for an MMO, but at the moment, I don't feel compelled to leave Guild Wars 2. Funny thing is that when I play Guild Wars 2, while chatting with my friends on Mumble, I continually voice my opinion on how ESO is better at this, and ESO is better at that. I must be really irritating to my mates during our Guild Wars 2 sessions, but it's true. Elder Scrolls Online to me is better. The story is better, the lore is better, the game is better, the combat is better, the maps are better. It's just missing content and depth in its character build. I may need to break up with ESO for now. Give it some time to mature, because games like Guild Wars 2, which has no monthly fee, and Rift, which is completely free, will scratch that MMO itch perfectly for quite some time. I'm just afraid ESO will never be all that it can be. Your thoughts? Cheers.
All right, well, I wanted to mention this one because he made some interesting points here, but I'm actually going to tell you this. The last game that Thais and I were both really hyped for was actually Guild Wars 2. I think that was one of the first podcasts that I was ever guest hosted on was a Guild Wars 2 podcast. And I was a very heavy MMO player, and Guild Wars 2, for me, did not offer what I would consider to be a real MMO experience. Now, it all depends on how you play the games as well. I know we played Guild Wars 2. We got 100% world completion. We maxed out on all the gear. We got the items we wanted to look good. But in reality, we thought the game was pretty massive disappointment. Because, to be honest, the updates that they do are few and far between, and when they do updates, you can do them in a matter of a day. Like their first iteration of the living story literally took you a day to do everything, and then you were done for a couple months. It's hard to say because there's no real one best way to say this, because each person's differently. Depends on how you play. Some of the people who burnt through ESO very quickly, got the VR10 within a few weeks, they were kind of bored. Now, with that being said, ESO so far has had a wonderful release cadence, with constantly giving us brand new stuff coming out, brand new things coming out that are very interesting. Are there some things that I wish they would have? Absolutely. And I think they're actually going to eventually get to them. When I played Guild Wars 2, one of the things that I really liked was the jumping puzzles. That's about the only thing that I missed from Guild Wars 2. What do you think about his whole thing about being...
I'm just going to say this outright, and I don't want to offend anybody, but I completely disagree. I so disagree that it's ridiculous. We waited and waited for Guild Wars 2, and we were so excited for Guild Wars 2, but there's nothing in Guild Wars 2 outside of their PvP, which, as Deltia knows, I enjoy the large-scale PvP, and I had a lot of fun in Guild Wars 2's PvP. After you do it a few times, it's boring. It never really changes, and you do the same thing over and over, and it gets very stale. It really does. And once you level up to the max level, you've done all the content that there is. There's only so many times you can deal with the monotony that Guild Wars 2 has. And I enjoy monotony, but it was just boring. And the living story, I only ever did a few of them because I got tired of them.
And this isn't just Guild Wars 2. This is like MMOs in general. We shouldn't just bash Guild Wars 2 because it's not. Because I enjoyed Guild Wars 2 for the time, but this is any MMO. Like, he also mentioned Rift and stuff of that nature. The thing that I feel is, if you're playing a game, solely one game, it's okay to take breaks every once in a while, because you eventually hit that point where you've done everything you gotta wait, etc., etc. I know we both play multiple MMOs that we kind of mix it up once in a while. Like, ESO is our main game that we've been playing. We play it a lot. But every once in a while, we need a different, I go back to, I think, Final Fantasy 14 to scratch that that rating itch, that standard rating itch that I like. And that's what I like to do. But I do that. I run a raid. All right, I feel pretty good. Now let me get back into an MMO that I really am enjoying a lot of, and that's ESO.
Yeah, but if you listen to the person's opinion, I think they're dead on. If you play in-game in this game, and no offense, you guys aren't there yet. When you get to the end-game, there is a big lack of content. Why? Doesn't have any dailies. Doesn't have any repeat stuff. That's what MMOs are. Basically, 5 or 6 things to do. It can be repeated every day and give you rewards to keep you on a treadmill. ESO is missing that, to be completely honest with you. It's part of the reason why I level different characters. It's because I'm waiting for the game to evolve and change. But it has the foundation of a really good game. There's a lot of great things about it, but this person is completely dead on, in my opinion. What is there to do at endgame? Trials, PvP. Well, I don't like playing with 12 people, okay, so I'm not going to do that. I don't really like the PvP Zerg Fest, so I'm not going to do that. So what is there for me to do? Well, right now, craft, level, get to know the game better, etc. Now, when the game comes out with new skill lines, new huge content, new things like that, the game's going to grow and evolve. But right now, if you're looking for, a typical huge MMO feel that's been developed like World of Warcraft for 10 years, you're going to be disappointed, to be completely honest. But the game has a huge, great, popular base. The Elder Scrolls lore and mythology and the way the game plays is going to have a lot of room for advancement, and it will be great. It's just going to take time for the end game to get there. And that's kind of what I'm patient enough to wait for it because I don't have 15 hours a week to do raids and all this stuff. But if you are that person, you need probably to wait. To be honest, there's just not enough. I mean, but every game goes through this. You know, the first year you come out, you don't have 15 raids at the end game thing. You don't have arenas. You don't have, so it takes time. But he's right. You go to another game, I'm like, ESO does this better. It looks better. It feels better. It feels like home. And that's why I love this game. And I'm okay with waiting for the end game to get a little better. It's fine with me.
Absolutely. And, you know, that's, like I said, we both play multiple MMOs for that reason, because ESO feels like home. It needs to be fleshed out a little bit, but let's really think about it. This game has only been out for
4 months.
Maybe 4 months.
It's made huge progress. I mean, this game
4 months. Guild Wars 2 is actually 3 years old right now.
That's crazy.
It 2 or 3 years old right now. It really is. It's that old. And so, yeah, it's like if you log into Rift has been around for 6 years now. So, yeah, they have a lot of stuff. When Rift first came out, they had one raid. And, I mean, they said it was pretty difficult, but really they had one raid. They had, you know, they didn't have a lot. They didn't have the ultimate advancement system. They didn't have a lot of stuff. MMOs get better as time goes on and you have more stuff to do. But yeah, the thing that we love the most about ESO is the story, the world itself. It does. It feels like home. As Deltia says, if you're into endgame raiding and stuff like that, or endgame PvP or something along those lines, if you love ESO, I say stick with it, but maybe play a different game on top of it. That's what we do. To get my hardcore raiding itch, I play Final Fantasy 14. That gets my logging in, doing the raid every week, you know, that kind of stuff, getting with your people and doing that. Now, does ESO have certain stuff? Yeah. Can it get better? Yeah, it probably will. So it's I scratched my itch with one of those games. If you don't want to pay for 2 MMOs, play Rift. That's free to play. There's lots of free to play, and nothing says you have to play only one. Like I said, ESO for us is our home. It's where we love to be. But until it evolves a little bit and grows up, for lack of better term, and get some of these other features, we supplement with other things, playing single-player games, other stuff like that. Nothing wrong with that at all. Put it down, take a break. I mean, I played WoW for 8 years, I think, almost 8 years, but in that amount of time, I took breaks that were months at a time, where I would just unsubscribe for a few months. I'd come back when the next big patch came up. Nothing wrong with that at all.
Can I say one more thing about this?
Absolutely, go for it.
Is what I tell people is, look, you know, there's a million different MMOs out there. What separates them is what you want to be a part of. You know what I mean? What do you want to be doing in the middle of them? And so Elder Scrolls, you want Star Wars, Elder Scrolls, but here's what I'll tell you the differences in this game. The developers. How many MMOs have you played where everyone asks for one thing or another and the developers don't do it? Star Wars, it was Sabacc. Everyone, every Cantina event, everything. When are we getting minigames? They haven't done it. It's been out for 2 years. They haven't even got guild calendars. Think about that. This game, the developers are completely open and honest. Have you ever heard a developer admit they made a mistake? I haven't. These guys will. So if you want to stick with the MMO long term, I'm sticking with some people that are open, honest, and actually play the game. You know, they actually play a Nightblade and understand, oh, maybe it does need a little buff. That's the difference between this game and other games that I have seen, is the developers, I think, wow, I'm impressed. Especially the Quakecon thing. They didn't duck or dodge any questions. They didn't say some BS answer. They didn't do anything. And they said stamina builds are broken. They said they're playing the game to get it. Stick with this game if you're about that. Because as a customer, someone who works in sales, I'm about loyalty and honesty and transparency. And this game does that for me.
I am actually in love with Deltia right now.
It really is true, and I mean, for developers, that is one thing. Like you said, even if people like who left before the Quakecon and said they're coming back, it's because the developers are listening. I've never heard developers.
Never.
Like, how many podcasts have developers been on multiple times? Like, many different podcasts. They come on a lot because they like to talk to the community. They like interacting with the community. I've never had this level of interaction from a development team, ever. I mean, Guild Wars 2 had some interactive during when it was first coming out, but once the game was launched, I've never heard anything from the developers anymore. And you're right, when they do make a mistake, they called it out. Paul Sage with the veteran system, he laid down what their vision was for the veteran system when they released it, and they're like, you know what, that was what our vision was. You guys didn't like it.
Yep, it changed.
So we're changing it.
Yep.
You know, this is what we envisioned it to be, but our player base says we didn't like your vision, so we're like, fine, we will change it. And that is
huge.
That is definitely very reassuring, because if we really want something, these development guys are open to us. They're like, hey, talk to us. We'll talk to you. We'll tell you. I've never heard a game who's been so, I guess what's another thing, how open they are with what they're currently working on. Other MMOs will only give you details when it's almost in production. These guys are like, yeah, this is what we're working on for like 8 months down the road. You know, like that ESO panel, all this stuff they're talking about, telling us everything they're working on. It was amazing.
Yep.
It really was. And you do have a good point. I mean, if this game doesn't have something that you're interested in, hang out and just, you know, make your concerns known. And to be honest, this development team will, if you know it's a popular feature, we'll probably add it.
Look at arenas. You know, they didn't realize it would be that much requested until they did the 3v3v3 thing, and now everyone's like, oh my god, I want that. And they're like, they went from, well, it's not in the game. Now they said it at Quakecon. They're like, we're looking how to implement it. They're taking the feedback. They want it. I mean, so for me, if I don't want to do anything at endgame, I'll just go play an alt, because I'm going to stick with this game. I'm behind the developers because they're honest and sincere. And so that I give a lot of slack to people that do that. And, you know, the veteran system, you said it perfectly. They said they screwed up, and they did. We don't like that. I don't like the veteran system. So, and they said, here's our vision for it. They explained it instead of just saying, well, you're going to have to deal with it. You know, that's other games have to do that. I'm like, wow, this is impressive.
It really is. It really, really is. So yeah, definitely, like, I don't know, this game just feels like home to me no matter what. I just love it. So, all right. Well, hopefully we've adequately answered your questions, and we gave our thoughts on this and why we're sticking with ESO and what we, you know, how we go around and get around some of the hurdles that you're facing. And we hope you give some thought to it and, you know, make a decision that's right for you. Okay. Well, with that being said, that is the end of our show. So let's go into our final thoughts and let people know where they can follow us. You know what? For switch things up, Deltia, why don't you go ahead and go first? Tell everyone, you know, where they can find you, pimp out your site, everything like that. Go for it.
Yeah, I keep dying when I go on these rants. I can't think about stuff. Yeah, Deltia's Gaming on Twitter, deltiasgaming.com. I'm starting to Twitch and stream a little bit more, but really I'm trying to find myself in ESO, what my long-term thing is, and I'm a PvPer at heart, but honestly I think it's PvE. And so I'm kind of gearing more towards that as time goes on. I love the dungeon, so I'm going to focus on that for the time being. I'm writing guides, a lot of guides for the Dragonknight. I did a Lightning Sork build. You should check it out. It's nasty. And the final thought I have is I'm really happy with the game. For me, it's just beautiful. The game is beautiful, and I've never been a part of community that's been better than this. I mean, I'm completely honest. You're talking about I was online, and someone recognized me from this podcast and gave me a free purple sword. That's cool. I've never had that in another game. You know what I mean? It feels like this crowd is mature, and yes, you got your trolls and ding-dongs and idiots. You got that everywhere. But it's not free to play. It's a subscription. It's on the PC. And you got to think, long-term, how good is this game going to be when it launches on consoles? This will be the coolest console game. I'm telling you. So stick with it and tell your friends. I mean, it's just so much fun. And it's a great game to play solo. I can play solo and level and experience that awesome content again. The main story is fantastic. The Fighters Guild, There is downsides. The end game isn't flushed out yet, but think about it. Thieves Guild, Dark Brotherhood, everyone who's played any Elder Scrolls game, that's pretty much the coolest thing to do, is nuke NPCs. I mean, how fun is that going to be? And to be a player that can actually enforce punishment, I mean, that's mind-blowing. That's monumental. And this game has not been out a year, and they're already thinking big. Love it. So keep it up, Elder Scrolls. I mean it. I mean, I'm a fanboy, I guess. You can call me a blowhard, diehard, whatever. I don't care, because if you're honest and open with me, and you treat me like an adult, not just some dirt video gamer, I'm going to stick behind your game, and I'm going to tell everyone how good it is, and that's what I'm here to do.
Absolutely, that's why we love having you here. We really do. Yeah, in this community, I'll give my final thoughts. Thais, you're gonna go last. My final thoughts really are this community has been one of the best communities I've ever been a part of, hands down. I've been speaking with several people from the QGN staff, from all over the place. Tiso Cast. And as podcasters, we're all about helping one another out, and it's amazing because I know some other people have been saying I know in Guild Wars 2 when podcasts were out and I was listening to a bunch of them, you didn't really, there wasn't a lot of inner cooperation because it was always who wanted to be the best podcast out there. We don't want you to go listen to them, because if you listen to them, you're not listening to us. I've had nothing but help from all the different podcasts. Road has been awesome. Varwin from QGN, I've talked to them all the time. Deltia, of course, you are awesome with your site. We all want to help each other out. I've gotten shout outs from QGN and TisoCast. Hey, you should go listen to them too. We're not in competition with one another. We're here to help one another. We love having each other's community sites up there. We promote one another. We want other people to get into the community. It is just hands down one of the best communities I've ever been a part of, and I just love it to death. I love doing these podcasts. I love having Deltia on the show. It's just a lot of fun for us to do. It really is. I'm loving the chat room, getting to see all these people in the chat room right now. We talk to all of them in game. And I've run dungeons with them. We chat all the time. I love getting their opinions after the show. When they've listened to it, they give us our opinions, and it really is. It is awesome to interact with everybody. TS Fangirl says I have all these feelings, but I can't find words. It really is. I love all you guys. It is so great, and I love being part of this podcast, being part of this community. And so, of course, if you want to find me in game, it's at Aggelos. That's Aggelos. Also, if you want to be part of the Friends and Family Guild, you can send a message to at Aggelos. That's Aggelos, or at Tear Eater, Teareater. My goodness, I need to learn to spell. Going forward, I also want to mention one other thing. I'm going to be working with Kipster here in the next little while with a guild for him, for people interested in hardcore, we'll say harder core PvE related stuff, but I need to get with him a little bit and see what his vision is. So for those interesting coming forward, pay attention, because some stuff may be coming out about that. I just need to talk with Kip a little bit. And of course, if you want to follow me on Twitter, my personal Twitter is Aggelos, that's AGGELOS_WOF. Okay, and those are my final thoughts. Thais, your turn.
Well, geez, since everybody said everything already, I don't have anything to say. I agree with both Deltia and Ag. I just, man, I have nothing to say now.
You agree with me? I thought you hated me.
I know. This is the one time I agree with my favorite meathead
favorite enemy.
PvPer.
I'm a PvEer now. I'm converting.
You're converting? Oh, that's amazing. I'm
up
so
until
excited.
the justice system comes out.
Oh my god.
PvP guard, that's what I'm doing.
Wait, so that'll be one thing where Deltia and I can do together. Because I'm going to be stealing everything and killing everybody. So we can work together. Ag will be against us. But it's been a great show, and like Deltia and Ag, I am very thankful to have the community behind us and helping us every step of the way, especially when the podcast was first getting off the ground. It was so nice to hear the encouragement and the help from everybody because, come on, it's the internet. You expect people to beat you down with sticks, but that wasn't what we were met with. We were met with open arms and help. So, yes, great show. I've had a lot of fun. I love my hosts, and keep an eye out for my Twitter account to send me twits.
Send me twits. Awesome. Well, again, I do want to thank my co-hosts for joining me this evening. I want to thank everyone for listening to the podcast. If you want to help support the podcast, feel free to donate via the PayPal link to our website or in any way you want to donate, whether it's your time. We had people writing guides for the sites and stuff of that nature and anything like that. Anything you want to do to help support the community